I saw a clip that someone who I guess they had a pass, like they got a reporter.
Oh yeah.
They went to Mahomes. It was like, a lot of people have helped you throughout your career. So who's your favorite ref?
Yeah.
So I want to talk about this a little bit because I know that's funny, but
hilarious.
There has been, so the referee organization, like the union, spoke out and was like, hey, what is this? Like, there's a whole bunch of narratives going on that we only they cover the same team at most twice during the regular season, and we get graded on every single play and every single game, and that determines who goes into the playoffs. Goodell was asked about the Chiefs and the refs, and Travis Kelce spoke out about it too, and was just like, why is the media running with this? Because they obviously started getting some more questions.
Yeah, because somebody asked Kelce, like, if you could ask the media a question, what would it be? So he said, why are you leaning into this refs thing? This was the statement that was put out by Executive Director Scott Green of the NFL Referees Association. I think, like, there's two things that happen here. One, the Chiefs get favorable calls in the playoffs. And it's not to say that those are the reasons they win the games, but versus the Texans, they had a big call go their way with the roughing the passer. They had another big call. And then in the Bills game, you got the weird spot thing, and you got the reception that was given to Xavier Worthy, even though, like, no way he should have been awarded that reception. There was a penalty on the play. It wouldn't have been that big of a deal. So there is a thing there that we have seen. And it goes back to the Eagles Super Bowl as well. We saw the defensive holding. And those have been big games. There's extra eyeballs on those games. So they're going to garner more attention.
Yeah, that's what we talk about. Yeah.
That's why. That's why that narrative is there, and that's why people are interested in it.
Sure.
Then we have this thing called the internet, guys. And if you just look at the state of our country, information is going to travel in two directions, no matter what it is. It's going to be what the truth is, and it's going to be the conspiracies. So a conspiracy now, even if it's not real, is going to be elevated to levels that it should never be elevated to. And that's what we have with NFL officiating. It is too easy for too many people to say rigged, it's rigged. And let's take it back to, when did you start your scripted series about the NFL? This has been like 2 years in the making, right?
Yeah.
Like, guys like us were joking about it.
Sure.
And now it's become something that's happened so many times that people in real media, like Adam Schefter, are comfortable saying, oh, there's a disparity here. There's a thing here. That's why.
Well, I think there's a couple things, right? Like, so to the one, I don't know who the reporter was, the one who asked Mahomes that question.
I don't know if it's even a reporter. It's
he got media day access, you know what I mean?
So just some guy, anybody can get that shit.
Well,
you're going to be there, for fuck's sake.
Well, that's just Radio Row. That's
I'm just kidding.
St. Jude. But in terms of, dude, like, but that was, yeah, I think that's super cringy in real life because, like, it is, dude, you know, like, people would kill to be in that position to ask Patrick Mahomes a question on Super Bowl Media Day. I think that's just cringy. But in talking about what you mentioned, because I think gambling has a part to play in this as well, because it opens things up for more scrutiny. And you and I have talked about not even the gambling aspect, but the matter of, like, the lack of transparency. Like, we look how the XFL does things or the USFL does things and how they handle ref calls. And there is a significant lack of transparency within the NFL. So because of that, and again, you will have a game, look at the AFC Championship game, you will have a game where you'll have the broadcasters. And I always look at it from the lens of, like, hey, imagine you were a casual fan tuning into football, right? Because the AFC Championship game was a very highly watched game, as is the Super Bowl. If you're watching this for one of the first times, you're not really tuning into football a lot, and you have broadcasters who are saying that this is a wrong spot, and this is the wrong call, boom, 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 boom. And that's what they're getting. And all they're hearing from the referee is, oh, it's not a first down. Well, there's no in between. Well, okay, well, how did you arrive to that?
Yeah.
Right. And because there's a lack of process there to the general audience, that is just going to leave it even more susceptible to, okay, we're going to fill in the blanks with narratives. Right. And again, we've talked about this ad nauseum about just ref calls and inconsistency with the officiating. And we've seen it years and years and years and years and years. And there's going to be certain teams and certain players that are going to get calls, or maybe they're going to get a little bit more like lax with them. Sure. Aaron Rodgers was one of them, right? Patrick Mahomes was one of them. Tom Brady was one of them. These elite quarterbacks are going to get more calls often than not. It sucks because, again, if you're a Chiefs fan, this is just the only thing you're hearing now. And I think that because there are folks who are literally looking at it, because there are folks who literally go, oh, no, this is rigged. Like, they're like, this is, we do not think that this is a game that's occurring in all fairness. Yeah. And so I think at the end of the day, like, it has just created a storm that now that you have the media talking about it so much, dude, like, come Sunday, if there is a controversial call that goes in the Chiefs' favor, it is not going to be a fun time on the internet.
Yeah. And like, if I was a Chiefs fan, I'd be super annoyed with it too. Like, it detracts from what your team does well. Yeah. But
because the Packers got a lot of those calls. Like, the Packers have benefited when they had Aaron Rodgers. Like, they benefited from a lot of like good calls. Like, ask the Lions, they'll tell you. Yeah. And at some point, like, everyone's just like and I was like, okay, guys, like, I don't know, I can't do anything. Like, what do you want me to do? I can say I disagree with this call, and that's just what it is. And that's why, whether it impacts the Packers in a negative way, I'm just like, do they have an opportunity to win the game? Because unfortunately, the NFL has decided that this is a part of the game. Yeah. Like the Patriots got a ton of it too. Like when they were going on there.
Yeah. The Patriots also cheated. So that's, they cheated and they got help from the refs.
I swear to God, if we get one Chiefs in this country, ZJ, it is not. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, we need one Chiefs cheating scandal. That's what I need. The other there's two other things too. All right. Officiating might actually be better than it has ever been before.
Sure.
Go back, just say 20 years, right? When all games weren't even broadcast in HD. So you got to play down a sideline where we can see this much green of a, Devontae Smith's foot. Oh, he's in bounds. We got this angle. We can actually see he was in bounds. Like, there's a time where it would be impossible to tell because the quality of that broadcast wasn't even good enough for us to have a definitive thing. And then social media allows you to have visual evidence immediately. Like, it is a bad call in a football game that is on the internet in seconds. And we all have access to the conclusive evidence of it being a bad or good call. And that takes off so quickly now. And it becomes a talking point. Whereas, like, if you were mad about a call in a game before, you had to, wait until you were at work on Monday to think about it at the water cooler or something, right? Or see it in a freaking newspaper or see it on Sports Center later. We just have so much visual access to the game. And you bring up the point where it's like, all right, if we have all of this, the NFL's next thing they have to do is capitalize on that and make sure they're getting the best possible call from their standpoint. And you can't ask the officials on the field to do that because they don't see the same shit we do. And then they get a limited window to go and look at a replay on certain situations. They just need to have somebody in their ear to correct those things. Like, we know what the solution is. It's just, when will the NFL implement that and make it part of the game?
And again, it's also like, right, like, we will see, like, let's look at an egregious call like that you could look at. So like, sorry, I'm in New Orleans. So let's talk about Rams Saints. Like,
yes, that's probably the best one.
That is like the most egregious. I don't know how you could
non-call
that anything else but pass interference, because he literally lights him up before the ball's there. So there's that. But the problem is, like, there needs to be that level of accountability. But two, unless it's something like that, so many of these plays are bang bang plays that they're having at full speed, that they're not being seen. And like, we slow it down or they show a replay on TV and it's like, let's just say it was a penalty that wasn't called. And you see it like frame by frame by frame by frame. The refs are not looking at that if they're on the next play, right? So the viewing audience is stuck on that last play of like, why wasn't that pass interference? Why wasn't that holding? But they're already moving on. And it's like, oh, now they're moving because the refs just straight up didn't see. And I'm not even excusing that. But if you have watched football for any amount of time, everybody is cheating on every single snap. Everybody is holding. Everyone's trying to get away with and talk to any offensive lineman, talk to any defensive lineman. And again, I'm not using this as an excuse because I still think the officiating can get better, or at least the communication with the viewing audience could get significantly better, reduce, any kind of or lack of transparency.
And I mean, and then the issue too is like when you do slow it down frame by frame and the official is reviewing it, and then they come away ruling that Xavier Worthy caught the ball, you're like, wait, how does that make sense based on, the rule of how you judge a catch? So that's the other problem. Like when they do have the time to look at something slowed down like that, they have to get the call right, like 100% of the time. And I think they need extra help doing that because there's a lot of pressure for an official on the field to be looking and re-looking at a replay and then making that call. Also, the game gets annoying too when everything is broken down like that. When we're dissecting, like say a touchdown catch and whether or not a ball slightly moved after a dude hit the ground, like if he fucking caught it, just say he caught it, and we don't need to nitpick those things. But unfortunately, like, I don't know if we're going to get away from that at any point ever, because asking them to be like, did it look like a catch? Then let's just go with it being a catch. It's better for the game. It was cool. Let's rule of cool. Let's apply that.
I'm so glad that this was brought up, and then this was the comment right beneath it. Because, right? So, like, if you go by the rules back in 2014, like, that was not a catch. It was the whole, what is a catch? Right? But, man, like, that's unfortunately, because there's also the other element where the rules are written in such a way that it leaves it open for interpretation, or it leaves it open of like, maybe this should be tweaked, but hey, I got to call it the way that it's written.